Ning Chen travels through the Douluo Continent, awakens his supernatural intelligence, but discovers that he has become an abandoned baby. Fortunately, Ning Fengzhi and Jian Douluo, who were passing by, met him and brought him back to the Seven Treasures Glass Sect for adoption. From then on, a young master was added to the Seven Treasures Glass Sect, and a demon genius with the ability to defy the heavens was added to the Soul Master realm. You listen to Qianxue's teachings on swordsmanship, gaining a deeper understanding and comprehension. One sword opens the heavenly gate. You observe the twin martial souls through the inner vision method, gain an understanding of the martial souls of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda, and evolve the martial souls of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda. You absorb soul rings, have an understanding of the lifespan of soul rings, and create soul ring cultivation method. You observe Tang Sanzi's extreme magic eyes, see through the source, see through illusion, and comprehend the divine power of the heavenly eye. Years later, on the battlefield of Qianrenxue, the people of the world cheered in unison. The Rakshasa god has no way, and an avalanche has destroyed the country. Please, Lord Ningchen, ascend to the throne, return the people of our mainland to a peaceful and prosperous era, and create the supreme divine kingdom. Keywords of the novel. Douluo. Overwhelming comprehension, shocking Ning Fengzhi. No pop-ups, Douluo. With an incredible understanding, shocked Ning Fengzhi. Download the complete set of TXT, Douluo. Overwhelming intelligence, shocking Ning Fengzhi. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Traversing Douluo, overcoming the heavenly enlightenment, shocking Ning Fengzhi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Traversing Douluo, overcoming the heavenly enlightenment, shocking Ning Fengzhi. Brain storage area, am I traveling? Traversing into a baby's body. Is this baby still an abandoned baby? Feeling the cold wind blowing on her face and looking at her chubby jade arms, Ning Chen shivered. Looking at it again, the tree shadows were mottled, with rays of sunlight shining on his face, and occasional sounds of beasts walking and birds singing in his ears. He understood his current situation. Forest. Moreover, it is still a primitive forest. For a moment, the surprise and excitement that should have been there were no signs of it on his chubby little face. Instead, his eyes were filled with bitterness and sorrow. Although he was just a 996 social animal with no money or power in his past life, he still had nest egg expenses to eat and decades of life to live on. What should he do now? Did he really give breakfast to the wild beast? Ning Chen sighed. He traveled through a world of fantasy, either as a great emperor or as a successful business elite and successful person, but he became an abandoned baby. Still the kind that cannot even walk or speak. Ning Chen felt a bit hopeless. Shouldn't it get cold just after crossing? You have traveled through time and received collective blessings from Chinese travelers, gaining the ability to overcome the heavens' overwhelming comprehension. He admitted that this is indeed a good golden finger. However, that pertains to past lives. After all, he was just a scumbag in his past life. I definitely want to experience the joy of being a top student. I don't know anything when I ask before the exam, and my grades are all right. But now he has traveled. And it's still this situation. What use can this thing have? Live on. He just wants to live now. Brushing, perhaps it was the welfare of the traveler, which made him deaf and clear now. He heard a row of 3 people, 100 meters away, speaking a local dialect that he couldn't understand at all. Ning Chen's heart was filled with joy. Someone. He doesn't care about the origins or identities of these 3 people. For his current situation, as long as it is a person, it is enough to take him away. At least I don't have to die from the mouths of birds and beasts anymore. It seems that I can still save myself. Wow, wow. Ning Chen used the strength of breastfeeding. Start shouting and trying to attract people not far away. You use all your strength to shout and scream, and have some understanding of the vibration pattern of the sound waves in heaven and earth. Understanding. Sound wave lion roar skill. For a moment, countless incomprehensible characters flooded into Ning Chen's mind. Before he could fully understand the appearance and meaning of these characters, they were directly imprinted in his mind. It seems that as long as he speaks, he can directly unleash it. Ning Chen's heart was filled with joy. Overwhelming comprehension, as expected. In this situation, one can have a clear understanding. With the blessing of lion roar technique, he once again worked hard and started to cry. With the blessing of the sound wave lion roar technique, although the sound of shouting is still crying, the sound is more penetrating. Accompanied by the flow of air, sound echoes in the forest. It has not disappeared for a long time. Is this the cry of a baby? How could there be a baby in the wild? Within the starry forest. Ning Fengzhi, who just found the first soul ring for Ning Rongrong, is in a good mood at the moment. Just as he was planning to return to the Seven Treasures Glass Sect with Ning Rongrong, he heard cries coming from the forest and his footsteps couldn't help but slow down. My heart is filled with doubts. No, this voice is mixed with powerful spiritual fluctuations, which cannot be what a baby can produce. Sword Douluo Chen shook his head and denied Ning Fengzhi's judgment. Isn't it a child? Is it a strong person with spiritual martial souls? Ning Rongrong suddenly felt peculiar. I want to come forward and take a look. However, he was stopped by his colleague Ning Fengzhi and scolded, Rongrong, no way. Uncle Jian has already mentioned the relationship of interests. As Rongrong's father, how could he let Rongrong risk himself again? A gentleman does not stand under a dangerous wall. Whether as a father, or with Rongrong's innate 9th-level soul power, or as the only heir to his 7 treasures of the Glass Sect, it is not worth taking this risk. Grandpa Jian, do Rongrong want to go and see it? Ning Rongrong shook Jian Douluo's arm and kept acting coquettishly in a soft and crisp voice. Well. Since Rongrong wants to go, let's go and take a look. Sword Douluo doted and rubbed Ning Rongrong's soft hair, smiling slightly. Uncle Jian, as you mentioned before, the source of this sound wave is likely to be a high-level soul beast that can mimic a baby's voice. What if the other party is luring prey? Let's hurry back to our sect. Ning Fengzhi stopped the two of them on their way. Fengzhi, don't worry. With me around, Rongrong won't have any problems. Moreover, even if it's a spiritual soul beast, what's wrong? With my husband around, even if it's a soul beast that has been around for 100,000 years, I wouldn't want to harm my Rongrong with a single hair. Sword Douluo hugged Ning Rongrong and said arrogantly. Grandpa Jian is really good, Muwa. Ning Rongrong immediately smiled and kissed Jian Douluo's face with a cherry mouth, causing Sword Douluo to burst into laughter. Since that's the case, well then. Ning Fengzhi shook his head helplessly. Uncle Jian, as the pinnacle Douluo of level 96 in the Tang dynasty, with his presence, there will naturally be no accidents. But Uncle Jian, he really dotes on Rongrong too much. This is not a good thing for Rongrong's future. However, there was nothing he could do now, so he had to follow the footsteps of Sword Douluo and follow the sound. Stepping over half-a-meter-high weeds. Pluck away the dense shrubs. Just as everyone was still searching for the traces of soul beasts. But it was discovered that the source of the sound. Surprisingly, it comes from a young child in front of me. Surprisingly, it's just a child. Ning Feng was somewhat surprised. Unexpectedly, that long and penetrating voice came from the mouth of a child who had just been born. In this world, there really is such an incredible talent. Rao is a knowledgeable swordsman who is also amazed. Fortunately, it was myself who went out hunting souls this time. Otherwise, wouldn't you miss out on something rare in this world? How could there really be such a genius in this world? Ning Fengzhi couldn't help but sigh. I thought so. Their family is Renxue, possessing the world's top auxiliary martial soul, the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda, and the innate 9th level talent, which is only one level away from the innate full soul power. In the future, under the leadership of Ning Renxue, it is certain that the glory of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect will continue, and even replace the position of Haotian's sect as the world's first sect. Now it seems. There are people outside of us, and there are heavens outside of us. Just he is very curious. Why would a child with such talent be abandoned? Why would they be abandoned in such a dangerous starry forest? He doesn't understand. New book release, please follow up. Seeking collection. Please clock in. Please give me a reward. Requesting recommended tickets, monthly tickets. This is a book with a very high level of authority, which slaps Tang San in the face. Do not enter if you do not like it. The author has AQ group. 699842946, welcome to follow up and discuss the plot. Thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Tianzong Talent, Peerless Demon. Seeking follow-up reading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 3. Years of Enlightenment, Swordsmanship in one day. Open the heavenly gate with one sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Years of Enlightenment, Swordsmanship in one day. Open the heavenly gate with one sword. It can be seen from this. Ning Fengzhi's level of attention and favor towards Ning Chen is unparalleled compared to his biological child Ning Renxue. There's no way, who can compare Ning Chen's contribution or talent to the Seven Treasures Glass Sect. Whenever night falls, Ning Fengzhi even thinks. If Ning Chen were her own biological son, how great it would be. Such a talented individual is like being born with knowledge. Almost without having to discipline anything on their own, they can do everything in an orderly manner, even to the extent that some adults feel inferior. It would be great if he were really his own son. He doesn't have to worry so much anymore. Can't you come and see your child when you have nothing to do? Ning Fengzhi sighed, but pretended to be angry and asked Ning Chen. If the child's words are incorrect, please ask the adoptive father to punish him. Ning Chen smiled slightly and bowed in salute. Although knowing that Ning Fengzhi was not angry but teasing him, he still pretended to be trembling. Jian Douluo laughed heartily and said, Fengzhi, don't tease Qianrenxue anymore. Look at how scared Qianrenxue is. Uncle Jian, you and Uncle Gu should spoil Qianrenxue. Sooner or later, we must also spoil Qianrenxue as delicate as Renxue. When it comes to Ning Renxue, Ning Fengzhi feels a bit headache. Renxue, this child is really becoming less and less sensible. I don't know what Renxue really thinks. Unexpectedly, just because he was disciplining the other party and hated her for not being strong enough, he hit her and ran away from home. Moreover, I also went to a Shrek Academy built in a small village that claims to only accept monsters. A college that only accepts monsters. Are you joking? Students who can be called monsters are all geniuses among geniuses. Do you use a 3-no college with mediocre teaching staff, incomplete textbooks, and even a simulated cultivation environment like yours to teach? According to his plan for Ning Renxue's future, he is going to study at the Tianzong Royal Academy. The Tianzong Royal Academy is not open to descendants of non-imperial figures. By studying in it, one can not only obtain the best resources but also make friends with the descendants of those important figures, paving the way for Renxue to become the head of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect in the future. But this child, aren't you angry with yourself and struggling with your future? Alright Fengzhi, don't worry about Renxue anymore. Renxue has grown up and is now 12 years old. It's time for her to leave the shelter of our old friends and see the scenery outside. Jian Douluo felt relieved and continued, besides, I also know that the dean of Shrek Academy, named Frand, although just a soul saint, has taught many excellent students. Let Renxue stay there for a while, and when Rongrong's enthusiasm for everything has passed, he will come back. Ning Feng nodded slightly, as if he had relaxed his mind. Rongrong, after all, is the little princess of the 7 treasures of the Glass Sect. He is the daughter of Ning Fengzhi, and even someone named Fran dare not do anything too extreme. With a gentle smile, she looked at Ning Chen, who was somewhat worried, and asked in a soft voice, "Chener, my father just saw that your face was full of sorrow, but what problem do you need the help of your adoptive father?" Although he is not his biological son, over the years, he knows Ning Chen better than his biological parents do. If it weren't for something big, it wouldn't have made Ning Chen so difficult. Ning Chen shook her head and said, "Thank you very much for your concern, my adoptive father. Actually, it's not a big deal. It's just that I encountered some doubts while practicing, which made me a bit puzzled." "Oh. What's the problem?" Ning Fengzhi asked curiously. Qianrenxue also became interested. Since this child was able to read and read, his talent has been revealed early on. The threshold of swordsmanship that ordinary people need to cultivate for more than 10 years, or even decades, cannot be comprehended, and can be comprehended in an instant. They can even draw analogies and create swordsmanship techniques that can be passed down from generation to generation. Faced with Ning Chen's incredible talent for intelligence, these 3 old guys once questioned their own talents. In the end, it was unanimously believed that it was not because they were too weak, but because Ning Chen was too demonic that they had this idea. But now, Ning Chen surprisingly said that she had doubts about her cultivation, which immediately aroused Jian Douluo's interest. "You should know. Although Ning Chen has also been practicing physical fitness in recent years, most of the time he has been practicing and comprehending swordsmanship. That is to say, the problem that puzzled Ning Chen was in the field of swordsmanship. Grandpa Jian, as you know, my 2-sleeved green snake and sword Qi rolling dragon wall had already reached a great level 3 years ago. For these 3 years, I have been thinking about how to make breakthroughs again. However, I have always been unable to do so." Ning Chen asked out his doubts and looked at Qianrenxue with a hopeful expression. "If you ask Douluo Continent who has the highest talent, there may still be controversy. But if it comes to the understanding of swordsmanship, on this continent, besides the grand deity Qianrenxue in the temple, he is also known as the Sword Douluo of the dust heart of swordsmanship. You should know that not only Qianrenxue, but also Qianrenxue's father is a complete swordsman. I have been pursuing the ultimate level of swordsmanship throughout my life. It's impossible to have 1,000 paths of flow. If it weren't for the catastrophic disaster in the Martial Soul Hall, that old man wouldn't have walked out of the offering hall, let alone to dispel doubts for an unrelated younger generation. So, as the top swordsman on the mainland, Qianrenxue is the best person who can help him solve his doubts. After all, his sword was taught by Qianrenxue." After pondering for a moment, Qianrenxue turned to ask, "Do you have any thoughts?" Although Ning Chen has exceptional talent and can be considered a demon, he often innovates based on what he teaches. But cultivation is like learning, and rote learning is not feasible. Only when you have personal insights and ideas, as a teacher and guide, can you provide more targeted teaching. After pondering for a moment, Ning Chen spoke up and said, "I was just practicing sword Qi rolling dragon wall and 2-sleeved green snake when I tried to release them without using a wooden sword. However, I found that it could also achieve the same effect as using a wooden sword. It was like, as long as I wanted to, with a single thought, I could refine countless divine swords." Ning Chen paused in an instant, his eyes lit up slightly. "I understand. My body is like a sword, and my heart is like a sword. Without a sword, it is better than having a sword. Refining the heart sword with the heat of the heart light can surpass countless swords of fire and Qi and blood. You have practiced the 2-sleeves green snake and sword Qi rolling dragon wall for 3 years, gaining a deeper understanding of swordsmanship. Mingwu. One sword immortal kneels. You have a clear understanding of the profound meaning of the one sword immortal kneeling, and have a deeper understanding of swordsmanship, sword heart and sword meaning. Understanding. One sword opens the heavenly gate, beginner level. Practicing swordsmanship for 2.5 years, today finally. Qianrenxue. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Obtaining a son like this, what can a husband seek? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Obtaining a son like this, what can a husband seek? This sword energy. On the side, Ning Fengzhi didn't know what Ning Chen had comprehended at this moment. But he could feel the towering sword energy emanating from all around Ning Chen, causing pain on his cheeks. The soul power hovering around the sect is instantly restless. Guided by Ning Chen's sword energy, a soul power gust forms, charging straight into the clouds. With one sword, it opens up the 9 heavens cloud and breaks through the clouds. The sharp sword intent makes one unable to resist the coldness of the liver and gallbladder, and the soul power of the whole body, including the martial soul, is trembling, as if witnessing the birth of the legendary sword immortal. The emotions of martial souls can be mapped onto people. For a moment, Ning Fengzhi and Qianrenxue even had a desire to kneel down and worship the Lin Fan sword immortal who had just turned 6 years old and had not yet awakened his martial soul. The combination of man and sword, no sword is better than a sword, and even Qianrenxue's sword contains a sword art mystery that I have never heard of before. This. Kendo Chen was so excited that he couldn't speak clearly for a moment. For him, pursuing the ultimate in swordsmanship was a lifelong pursuit for him and his father. Not to mention the profound meaning that Ning Chen has comprehended and achieved. Being able to achieve the pinnacle of swordsmanship, where no sword is better than a sword, is enough to be proud and praised by future generations for generations to come. I thought he lacked talent and had no hope in this life. We can only leave the path of pursuing the peak of swordsmanship to future generations to explore. But now, hope is right in front of me. It's the child in front of me who has just turned 6 years old. His morning sun. I did it. Even beyond the realm of swordsmanship, it has opened up an unprecedented path for sword cultivators. A more powerful method of practicing swordsmanship. Just as Ning Fengzhi and Qianrenxue were extremely excited in their hearts. The sky gradually calmed down. Soul power gradually stabilizes. Even the surroundings of Ning Chen, which made outsiders hesitant to approach at all, became calm and stable at this moment. Everything that happened before has become as if it had never happened before. Unfortunately, because I haven't awakened my martial soul yet, I can't use my soul power. So much so that what I have learned now is only a beginner's sword to open the heavenly gate. It seems that it will be some time before the complete version that can truly cut open the heavenly gate. Ning Chen slowly restrained the aura caused by opening the heavenly gate with a sword, feeling a bit regretful in her heart, but not too disappointed. 2.5 years, compared to the long lifespan obtained after becoming a senior soul master, is not long. Moreover, before he could awaken his martial soul and possess the soul power that could be mobilized, he was already satisfied to unleash such a fierce and earth-shaking power. Qianrenxue, have you just broken through the barrier of no sword wins with sword and even created an unprecedented realm of swordsmanship? Although Qianxin can be certain, she still wants a positive response from the other party. Ning Chen nodded and said, "Yes, Grandpa Sword. However, I have just entered this path and am not familiar with it. If possible in the future, I can tell you my insights on it and help you break through to this level of swordsmanship." Qianrenxue, are you serious about this? Don't lie to Grandpa Sword. Qianxin's eyes lit up, and her murky eyes instantly emitted an incredibly brilliant light. Grandpa Jian, I was raised by you and your father alone. Everything about me was given by the sect and elders. How could I possibly deceive you? Ning Chen smiled slightly. Okay. Qianxin was extremely excited, her eyes slightly moist. A pair of big hands, which had been holding swords all year round and covered in calluses, tightly grasped Ning Chen's smooth and delicate little hands, refusing to let go for a long time. "Good child, my father is here. Dai Jianshu and Dai Zongmen, thank you." Ning Fengzhi wanted to bow, but was directly supported by Ning Chen and quickly said, "My adoptive father, aren't you doing this to crush the child?" Ning Fengzhi smiled slightly and patted Ning Chen's shoulder without speaking. "All words are in silence. This child has excellent talent and understanding, and the most rare thing is that he has scheming, is polite, knows etiquette, knows rules, and is not arrogant or impatient, respects and filial to his elders. Having such a son, why should I seek a husband? In my heart, I am increasingly satisfied with the adopted son I adopted many years ago. The more extraordinary the other person's performance, the more satisfied they are, and the more regret they have in their hearts. How great it would be if this child were really his biological son." Ning Fengzhi sighed slightly in her heart, sorted out her mood, and continued to say, "Our father and son won't say so many polite words anymore. By the way, today is the day when your martial soul awakens. Father has already prepared everything, so I will take you to the sect's martial arts arena to awaken your martial soul with the sect's disciples." Ning Fengzhi smiled slightly and took Ning Chen to the martial arts arena in front of the sect. The Seven Treasures Glass Sect has numerous disciples, including 2 titled Douluo, 15 soul Douluo, and 80.6 soul saint-level experts. In addition, there are also many disciples gathered on the martial arts arena at this moment. Although most of them do not have any descendants who need to awaken their martial souls, there are also many people who originally needed to be outside and were busy assigning tasks to the sect, all of whom are present at this moment. It is obvious that they were ordered by the sect leader Ning Fengzhi to come and witness Ning Chen, who led the Seven Treasures Glass Sect to a new height, the moment of awakening of the martial soul. On the martial arts arena, there are overcrowded people, and the crystal ball used for awakening is surrounded by a 6-pointed star formation. Seeing Ning Fengzhi bringing Ning Chen, the main leader, it was only then that he consciously opened up a passage for Ning Fengzhi, Ning Chen, and Sword Douluo to walk. For a moment, everyone's gaze focused on the 3 people, especially Ning Chen. I don't know what amazing martial soul the young master can awaken. Among the onlookers, one of the disciples murmured to himself. I guess the young master's awakening must be related to swordsmanship. Although the young master's performance in various aspects is far beyond comparison, his talent in swordsmanship is beyond even the reach of Elder Qianxin and Elder Gurong. His martial soul should be related to swordsmanship, right? The young master's innate talent, the awakened martial soul, is definitely beyond our ordinary people's ability to speculate. That's right, but remember, the young master is as grateful to us as the 7 treasures of the Glass Sect. Even if he awakens his useless martial soul like the eldest son of the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family, he should never neglect the young master when we meet in the future. You're right. That's right. As soon as these words were spoken, they immediately attracted everyone's approval. They feel that there is no comparability between the young master of the 7 Treasures Glass Sect and the useless person named Yu Shaojiang from the blue electric Tyrannosaurus Rex family. What was that guy doing when he was 2 or 3 years old, pretending that there were no useless martial souls and only useless soul masters everywhere? Just pee and mud. And they are the young masters of the 7 Treasures Glass Sect. The talent of heaven and man, at the age of 2 or 3, brought the sect to a height of wealth that could rival a country. How can we compare the two? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Such kindness, may it be repaid with death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Such kindness, may it be repaid with death. Alright, don't guess randomly. The ceremony is about to begin, and you will soon know what kind of martial soul the young master will awaken. The words have just finished. The martial arts arena returned to its original calmness, and everyone held their breath and stared in anticipation at Ning Chen's direction. Young master, it's good for you to stand in a six-pointed star formation, said the elder of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect, who was responsible for awakening respectfully. Originally, as an elder, one should not be so respectful to an outsider like Ning Chen, but judging from his appearance, it seems that he has received his own favor. However, it is unknown which aspect Ning Chen actually did. After all, he has done many things for the Seven Treasures Glass Sect in recent years, although it seems to everyone. But he felt that compared to the life-saving kindness of the past, this was far from enough. Looking at Ning Chen's steady posture, he was far less excited than other disciples of the sect. The awakened elder nodded slightly, truly deserving of the child who was valued so much by the sect elder and the sect leader. Just this composure is incomparable to ordinary children. Although deeply moved in my heart, it is my duty to first awaken the elders and remind these disciples of the precautions when awakening their martial souls. As disciples of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect, although they all understand these procedures, they still repeat the precautions out of responsibility and just in case. You just need to place your hands on the crystal ball, hold your breath, feel the existence of the martial soul, and wait for my soul power to lead out your respective martial souls. Many young disciples of the Seven Treasures of the Glass Sect nodded, their eyes all focused on Ning Chen. The meaning is very obvious, wanting Ning Chen to be the first awakened martial soul. However, Ning Chen still refused. First come, second served. Everyone came earlier than me. How could I break the rules just because I'm alone? Ning Chen embraced with a smile. These are all disciples of the sect. He usually looks down but doesn't look up. He wouldn't even use the set of Soul Master realm that prioritizes strength at home. Many children nodded. Following the guidance of the awakening elder, place your hand on the cold crystal ball and begin guiding the martial soul. Martial soul. Seven Treasure Glass Pagoda, Innate Soul Power Level 7. Martial soul. Double-headed Wind Demon Wolf, Innate Soul Power Level 8. Martial soul. Soul Calming Sword, Innate Soul Power Level 9. After awakening the martial souls of more than 10 disciples of the sect, whether it was the awakened elder, Ning Fengzhi, or Sword Douluo, they all nodded. The children who awakened their martial souls this year are truly the most outstanding group of children in the history of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect. Even the worst lone wolf martial soul, their innate soul power has reached level 7. Especially for children whose martial soul is the soul-suppressing sword, their innate soul power is just like that of the little princess Ning Rongrong, reaching an astonishing level 9. Whose child are you from? That's great. The awakened elder smiled slightly at the child who had awakened the soul sword martial soul, as if deliberately making friends. After all, innate level 9 soul power, future achievements will not be low. Even if it were possible to become the next sect leader, Rongrong's elder protector of the sect might also be possible. Thank you, Elder Awakening. My child's name is Zhou Hao. Ning Fengzhi nodded. Remember the name, Zhou Hao, firmly. This child can be well cultivated. As everyone gathered around to congratulate Zhou Hao, he seemed as if he had never heard of it. Walking directly to Ning Chen's side, he knelt down on one knee and said, "Young master, if I Zhou Hao can achieve today's success, I also want to thank you for your past guidance." Everyone was puzzled, although Ning Chen had brought tremendous wealth and prosperity to the Seven Treasures Glass Sect over the years, making the sect leader, who was already in a high position, completely become a popular figure in front of the Snow Knight Emperor. There are even rumors that the Snow Knight Emperor intends to pass the throne to Snow Qinghe because he is a disciple of Ning Feng. For a moment, there was no one in the entire Tianzong imperial city who did not envy the Seven Treasures and Glass Sect. All of this is due to the young master of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect, Ning Chen. However, they had never heard of young master Ning Chen being alone in showing kindness to others. So it's you, don't thank me. Ning Chen waved his hand and continued, it's also because you have good talent and work hard enough to practice swordsmanship on a daily basis. Otherwise, based solely on the words I said to you earlier, you wouldn't have been able to break through. No, my parents have taught me since I was young. A teacher of one character should also be rewarded by a gushing spring. Besides, young master, you once helped me break through the realm of swordsmanship, and you are my mentor. If my parents were still alive and knew that I did not respect my mentor, they would definitely punish me. Zhou Hao was somewhat stubborn and continued, such kindness, Zhou Hao is willing to repay it with death. Ning Chen smiled slightly. Who said that on the Douluo Continent, there are all some ruthless and ruthless people? Isn't there also someone who repays kindness with gratitude? Hear Zhou Hao's words. The disciples of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect understand. Unexpectedly, the young master still had the grace to teach this newly awakened genius. No wonder it's like this. Just, avenging death, will this deceive the Lord? Although everyone calls Ning Chen the young master, he is not the future successor of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect. Everyone's gaze turned to Ning Fengzhi. Only see. Ning Fengzhi chuckled as if he had completely forgotten it in his heart. I am very reassured about Ning Chen. Everyone finally calmed down. Alright, Chener, it's your turn. Ning Fengzhi smiled slightly, rubbed Ning Chen's soft hair, and advised, don't be nervous, just let everything go naturally. My adoptive father believes in you. Ning Chen nodded and placed her right hand on the crystal ball. Young master, I'm about to start. Awakening Elder reminded, the momentum suddenly changed, and a magnificent soul power surged out of itself. Martial soul possessed. With a loud roar, the martial soul belonging to the awakened Elder had successfully possessed. Bang, accompanied by the oscillation of soul power, the transparent crystal ball, infused with the awakened Elder's soul power, instantly bloomed with a dazzling light, pulling the hidden martial soul of Ning Chen, which had been unique to him for 6 years, hidden within his body. At this moment, not only Ning Chen was nervous, but even Ning Fengzhi and Sword Douluo Continent, who had always been calm and steady, were also very nervous. Clench your fists tightly to prevent sweat from dripping onto the ground. Staring at the crystal ball, waiting for the appearance of Ning Chen's martial soul. But a long time has passed. Inside the crystal ball, there is still no movement except for the soul power wrapped inside. What's going on here? Awakening, the Elder's forehead was slightly sweating. But once the martial soul awakening ceremony is started, it cannot be stopped, otherwise the awakening will fail. Can only continue to inject soul power with strong support. This. Ning Fengzhi and Qianrenxue, their eyes fixed together, full of solemnity. In general, martial souls are difficult to awaken, there is only one situation. The opponent's martial soul is too powerful. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Innate Level 20 Full Soul Power. Twin Martial Souls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Innate Level 20 Full Soul Power. Twin Martial Souls. Only the stronger can help awaken their martial soul. But they are the awakened elders of the Seven Treasures of the Glass Sect, with soul power reaching up to the level of 60 soul emperors. Unexpectedly unable to awaken the martial soul for Qianrenxue. This is really unbelievable. The disciples of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect immediately looked at each other. Level 60 Soul Emperor unable to awaken the martial soul for the young master. How could this be possible? Although they had known for a long time that the young master of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect had exceptional talent and intelligence close to that of a demon. But I didn't expect that the martial soul would be so powerful. Even the Soul Emperor level powerhouse cannot help it awaken. For a moment, everyone's gaze turned to Sword Douluo. It seems that among the people present, only this patriarch protector can help Ning Chen. Watching Ning Chen like this, Qianrenxue was worried and excited. Before Ning Fengzhi could speak, he directly offered the soul of the seven-kill sword. With it, his feet also rose up, representing his title as a Douluo level powerhouse's soul ring. Yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 black. 9 soul rings, especially dazzling. Break. Qianrenxue let out a loud shout, and the majestic soul power suddenly poured into the crystal ball, instantly revealing the martial soul hidden in Ning Chen's body. This. How could this be possible? After discovering Ning Chen's martial soul, everyone present was shocked. Young master, isn't he an abandoned baby brought back by the sect leader in the starry forest? How could you awaken the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda? What the hell is going on here? You should know that the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda martial soul is the first auxiliary martial soul in the world. The bloodline of the non-Seven Treasures Glass clan Ning cannot be inherited. Ning Chen. How could it be? Fengzhi, what's going on? Qianrenxue questioned Ning Fengzhi, her eyes full of coldness. He acts with a pure heart, always honest and straightforward, and admits that he has never misjudged anyone. Unexpectedly, he misread Ning Fengzhi, whom he had always regarded as his own junior. Uncle Jian, I don't know either. Ning Fengzhi's face was full of bitterness. I'm afraid he couldn't wash it off even if he jumped into the Tianzong lake in the starry forest. Fart. Qianrenxue's rare cursing. As the head of a sect, don't you know who else can know? How? Do you feel that Qianrenxue's maternal identity is too low to match your Ning Fengzhi? Or is it that your noble Seven Treasures and Glass Sect head simply doesn't appreciate the talent Qianrenxue has shown? Qianrenxue's old face was gloomy and was about to drip water. There's a big one, today you'd rather not give me a reasonable explanation than let me chop you. Uncle Jian, don't you know me yet? How could I be such a person who starts with chaos and ends with abandonment? Ning Fengzhi explained. He is really unjustified. Qianrenxue nodded slightly, and he naturally knew Ning Fengzhi's character. A person can disguise themselves for a while, but they cannot disguise themselves for a lifetime. Moreover, Fengzhi is someone who has been watching his grown-up children since childhood. But out of love for Ning Chen, he didn't say much. He just snorted coldly and said, since that's the case, I'll give you some time to find out Qianrenxue's identity. If it's your son, but you don't want to recognize him, don't blame me for not recognizing him. Uncle Jian, don't worry, even if Qianrenxue is not my child, I will treat him as my own. Ning Fengzhi said confidently. Just as the two were entangled in Ning Chen's identity, everyone was shocked and Ning Chen awakened the martial soul of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda. The gentle light of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda gradually dimmed. The sword energy of killing everything, like a god of death, emanated wildly from Ning Chen's side. This. Twin martial souls. Ning Fengzhi and Qianrenxue were shocked as they looked at Ning Chen, who was enveloped in the aura of Jin Guangbao and the aura of killing in the formation. Their eyes were filled with joy. No wonder the Soul Emperor is unable to awaken the morning child. No wonder it requires a Douluo level promotion. Originally, it was a twin martial soul. On the mainland, twin martial souls are extremely rare. Even if both parents have similar levels of martial souls, they are both top-level martial souls, and the probability of awakening twin martial souls is extremely small. Moreover, what Ning Chen awakened was a top-level martial soul that could rival the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda. Even more so. I didn't expect it. They are the Seven Treasures of the Glass Sect, how fortunate they are to have such a heavenly pride. Young master, you. The awakened elder in charge of the awakening ceremony stuttered with excitement. Twin martial souls, and also 2 top-tier weapon martial souls. As long as the young master doesn't have any accidents, their Seven Treasures Glass Sect will definitely replace the Haotian sect in the future and become the true first sect in the mainland. The awakened elder's breathing was rapid, but he still calmed his mind. However, he couldn't conceal his excitement and used all his life strength to loudly declare. Ning Chen, Twin Martial Souls. Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda, Shura Sword. Innate. Level 20 Full Soul Power. Hiss. Although seeing is believing, upon hearing the news that it was ultimately confirmed as a twin martial soul, the members of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect couldn't help but take a cold breath. Twin martial souls. And it's also a rare top-level twin martial soul in the world. If the martial soul can be arranged reasonably, in the future, one can definitely become a peerless powerhouse with the title Douluo. 1 door, 3 Douluo. No, including Zhou Hao who awakened the soul-suppressing sword, even a 4 Douluo. Haotian Sect. Damn it, Haotian Sect. Do you have a 4 Douluo? Are there any top-level twin martial souls among your Douluo level experts, like our Seven Treasures Glass Sect young master? Just as everyone was about to step forward and watch Ning Chen's twin martial souls up close, they found that Ning Chen was actually motionless. Sitting cross-legged in the original position of the formation, as if meditating on something. Master. Awakening Elder looked at Ning Fengzhi, unsure of how to respond. You guys go ahead and get busy. Don't disturb Qianrenxue, build a cool shed on the martial arts arena to shade him from the sun, and wait for him to wake up naturally. Ning Fengzhi gave the order directly. I protect the way for Qianrenxue, Qinxin volunteered. Once enlightened. This situation is rare, and it is a state that every soul master can encounter but cannot seek. As long as you understand, you can soar to the sky. Moreover, is it still Qianrenxue, the proud son of heaven and the talented individual of heaven? Just as Ning Fengzhi was preparing to leave, he planned to arrange personnel to investigate Ning Chen's identity. Outside the door. A guard hurried over. What's up? Ning Fengzhi asked. Report to the sect leader, outside the door, Your Highness the Crown Prince requests to see you. The guard respectfully said, and his eyes also glanced at Ning Chen sitting cross-legged. A face full of envy. I didn't see clearly just now. The young master's twin martial souls are so powerful that he deserves the title of Tianzong Wonder. Xueqing River. How did he come? Ning Feng is perplexed. But since he has arrived, it's just the right time to use him to help me investigate Qianrenxue's background. Hurry up and welcome the guests with our sect leader. Ning Fengzhi's mind stirred and he hurried on. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Martial Soul Evolution. 9 Treasure Glass Pagoda. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Martial Soul Evolution. 9 Treasure Glass Pagoda. On the martial arts arena. The formation and crystal ball used in the martial soul awakening ceremony have been removed under the command of Ning Fengzhi, and replaced by a tent that can be used to block the sun, wind, and rain on the martial arts arena. However, above the tent, in the air, there is a rainbow shining in the sky, shining with jewels and treasures, full of luxury. A small tower is suspended high in the air, making people feel warm and comfortable. The next moment, the small tower disappeared, and a strong smell of blood flowed in the air, making people unable to resist nausea and fear. Clouds covered the sky, under the cover of this bloody aura, added a hint of crimson eerie feeling. Immediately after, the crimson blood sword hanging above Ning Chen's head disappeared, and everything returned to its original state once again. Indulge in Ning Chen's body. Is this the martial soul of the Shura god, the 5 great law enforcement divine kings in the divine realm, the Shura divine sword? Ning Chen murmured to herself. Ning Chen was amazed by its astonishing power and murderous aura, but still couldn't understand. The Shura god is the god king of the divine realm, one of the law enforcers, and his martial soul should be a divine artifact. Why can't my Shura sword feel any divinity except for the endless killing aura? Is it difficult, because I am too weak, or rather, because I have never killed anyone before? Ning Chen pondered and suddenly understood the reason behind it. My martial soul is not the Shura divine sword, but the Shura sword before evolving into a divine artifact. Since it's not the Shura divine sword, it seems that the reason why I have an innate level 20 full soul power is not due to many martial souls. It's probably because I comprehended and practiced the two sleeves green snake and sword chi rolling dragon wall too early. Ning Chen came to this conclusion. Instead, he began to contemplate how to cultivate twin martial souls and solve the pain points of twin martial souls. According to the original work, in order for the Shura sword to evolve, it needs to constantly kill. Although I do not reject killing, with my current cultivation level, killing is very likely not to be countered by others, and more likely, due to excessive killing, it will become a public enemy of the mainland before it grows up and be pursued by people. Even if I am lucky enough to escape birth, I am still a member of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect. Those who claim to be righteous and prestigious will definitely unite to eliminate the Seven Treasures Glass Sect. Such gains and losses are not worth the losses. It's best to first improve your cultivation and cultivate the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda. Wait until you grow up in the future, then add a soul ring to the Shura sword to help it grow into the Shura divine sword, and then practice and understand the unique swordsmanship of the Shura sword. Well, that's it. Think of it here. Ning Chen's attention shifted to the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda. According to the original records and my understanding of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda over the years, although the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda is not as effective in large-scale healing as the Nine Hearts Begonia of the Yi family, which can only have one type of soul skill and martial soul for large-scale healing no matter how many soul rings are applied. But the victory lies in practicality and comprehensiveness. Whether it's in terms of healing or combat, the soul skill and soul master enhancements are all worthy of being the world's top auxiliary martial soul. Moreover, according to the ancient records in the Sutra Pavilion of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect, the soul skills of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda have been passed down through generations of trial and error, making it the most suitable soul skill for the martial souls of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda. As long as the soul master awakens the spirit of the Seven Treasures Glass Tower and has practiced the unique technique of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect, no matter what kind of soul beast's soul ring is applied, the same soul skill will be produced. Although these soul skills may vary in power depending on the age of the soul ring, they are currently the most suitable for the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda, a type of soul skill that assists martial souls. But since I possess the ability to transcend the heavens and possess the twin martial souls, I am determined to innovate and open up a path that is in line with the times and myself. In the future, if you want to destroy the martial soul hall of the Seven Treasures and Glass Sect, you will return without success. Even if you are killed by the Seven Treasures and Glass Sect. Let the Seven Treasures Glass Sect become the first and only powerful force on the Douluo Continent to be promoted from the sect to the empire. You have observed the twin martial souls through the inner vision method, and have a certain plan for the future. You have a deeper understanding of the martial souls of the Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda, which has led to its evolution. Ning Chen's heart was filled with joy. The Seven Treasures Glass Sect has always experienced countless evolution of martial souls, but most of them have evolved into the Eight Treasures Glass Pagoda, and as for the Nine Treasures Glass Pagoda on the higher level. In the ancient books of the Seven Treasures and Glass Sect, there are only records, and no predecessors have been able to achieve them. The only one was Ning Rongrong, who had taken the immortal Qilua tulip that Tang San had obtained from Dugu Bo's ice and fire Liangyi eyes a few years later. But now, just as he has awakened his martial soul, he has already possessed the Nine Treasures Glass Pagoda. Ning Chen slowly opened her eyes, filled with joy. Chen, how is your understanding of martial souls? Qianrenxue, who had been protecting Ning Chen under the sun, smiled and asked as she saw Ning Chen wake up. Ning Chen didn't say much, just reached out his left hand, and a sparkling Nine Treasures Glass Pagoda appeared in front of Qianrenxue. The Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda. What does this have to do with your understanding of martial souls? Qinxin originally couldn't understand Ning Chen's meaning. But when I realized that Ning Chen's Seven Treasures Glass Pagoda was different, my eyes widened and my face was filled with disbelief. This is 9 Treasure Glass Pagoda. Chinner, your martial soul has undergone a benign mutation. Joyful. Surprise. I don't understand. Excited. All of it condensed on Jian Douluo's face for a moment. Chinner has just awakened her martial soul. I haven't obtained the soul ring yet. It has already evolved into the 9 Treasures Glass Pagoda. You know, how long has it been since the awakening just ended? Half an hour. Or is it an hour? None of them. It has already caused a benign mutation in the martial soul. Looking across the whole continent, even he had never heard of such a strange news. It's really unbelievable. Chinner, how did you do it? Qianrenxue asked in surprise. Just now, I just used the inner vision method to observe my twin martial souls. After gaining some understanding of these 2 martial souls, I realized that they have evolved on their own, Ning Chen said. This. Qianrenxue felt a bit helpless. He originally thought that if the method of benign mutation of Chinner's martial soul could be popularized, then the overall strength of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect would be increased several times in the future. But now it seems Chinner's method cannot be replicated at all. Using observation ideas to observe martial souls leads to mutation. He doesn't quite believe it. After all, if it were so easy to mutate, then these old folks who have had martial souls for many years and have practiced them to this day would have evolved long ago. It seems that this method only applies to Chinner alone, Qianrenxue thought, but after all, this is a good thing. He planned to tell Ning Fengzhi about this news. But at this moment, a hurried step came. Qianrenxue and Ningchen looked up. It's actually Gu Douluo, Gu Rong. Old Bone, the martial soul awakening ceremony has all ended. What are you still doing here? Sword Douluo clenched his palms into a fist, making a creaking sound, and looked at Gu Rong with a slightly threatening gaze. It's like saying, you old man, if you don't give me a reasonable explanation today, I'll ask you to practice well. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Gifts from Gu Douluo, speech from Zhong Douluo. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Gifts from Gu Douluo, speech from Zhong Douluo. Morning's martial soul awakening ceremony. On such an important day, this old man is actually late. But Gu Douluo didn't pay attention to Qianrenxue either. He picked up Ning Chen directly and said apologetically, Chinner, I'm really sorry. Grandpa Bone just realized something and forgot about the time for a while. That's why he missed the grand day of your martial soul awakening. Regarding this, Ning Chen also understands. After all, understanding this kind of thing can be encountered but not sought after. As long as it happens, let alone the trivial matter of awakening the martial soul of the younger generation. Even if the imperial family of the heavenly Dou Empire is destroyed, it is far less than the improvement of one's own strength. Furthermore, he is not the little witch Ning Rongrong. It's okay, Grandpa Gu. Compared to just awakening your martial soul, improving your strength is the more important thing. Ning Chen smiled and shook her head. Gu Rong looked at Qianrenxue and stroked Ning Chen's green hair with a smile, saying, Qianrenxue is really well behaved, but if you're wrong, you're wrong. Grandpa Gu still needs to acknowledge the punishment. Chen, look, what is this? Gu Rong lightly swiped his right hand, as if performing a trick, and took out a book from the Soul Guide out of nowhere, handing it to Ning Chen's hand. The Soul Power Cultivation Method. Ning Chen's eyes lit up. If it's another gift. He really doesn't need it much. After all, as the young master of the Seven Treasures Glass Sect, he has no worries about food and clothing. Living a life of immortality, where clothes come to hand and food comes to mouth. Just tell the servant what you want and it will be delivered. For him now, it's not as practical as the soul power cultivation method. You have already seen the ordinary soul power cultivation method in the Sutra Pavilion, so what Grandpa Bone brought this time is not what ordinary soul masters have, but the modified soul power cultivation method that has been combined with Grandpa Bone's many years of cultivation. Gu Rong smiled. Old Bone, you're still putting in a lot of effort. Today's beating, even if it's avoided, Qianrenxue snorted and looked at Ning Chen. Chinner, I have also read the notes above, although it cannot be said to be completely suitable for your future cultivation. However, the cultivation and insights of soul power above are still very suitable for reference. This can be considered as what Lao Gu has learned throughout his life. Only you and Rongrong have read this note in the entire sect. Sword Douluo explained. Ning Chen nodded and carefully placed the notes into his soul guide, bowing solemnly and saying, "Thank you, Grandpa Gu. We are all from our own family, so it's too polite to say, thank you." Gu Douluo waved his hand and looked curiously at Qianrenxue, asking, what kind of martial soul did Qian'er awaken? What level of innate soul power is it? Upon hearing old Gurong's question, Qianrenxue's lips slightly raised, without speaking, as if showing off, and he directly picked up Ning Chen, who had just landed, again. Guess what? I'm a child, guess what? Speak up and fart quickly. The entire Seven Treasures Glass Sect knows about it. They're two elder guardians of the sect, although seen by outsiders as towering and difficult to approach, look like experts in the world. But in reality, these two always argue whenever they meet, but even so, it does not affect their relationship. So, including Ning Chen, they have long been accustomed to it. His current situation is still in the arms of Sword Douluo, and the two of them are drooling, inevitably affecting the innocent person Ning Chen for a moment. It made his hair and face covered in saliva left by the two of them spraying each other. Although it was a bit disgusting, Ning Chen still enjoyed it. These two little old men are almost 200 years old together, and they still have this kind of energy to compete. It also indirectly illustrates how strong the spiritual power of the title Douluo level powerhouse is, however. Just spray for a while. Still focusing on Ning Chen. Chinner, tell Grandpa Bone what kind of martial soul are you? Grandpa Bone, Chinner is a twin martial soul. One is the 9 Treasures Glass Pagoda, and the other is the Shura sword. He has an innate level 20 full soul power, Ning Chen said. Well, it's a great martial soul, as long as you carefully follow the soul power that Bone Grandpa gave you. Gu Rong nodded, as if lost in contemplation on how to find the soul ring configuration for Ning Chen, and subconsciously said. It wasn't long before he regained his senses. The expression was slightly taken aback. Chen, what are you saying? Innate level 20 full soul power. Twin martial souls. Yes, Grandpa Gu. Ning Chen nodded earnestly. Gu Rong's gaze fell on Qianrenxue, and when he saw the other person nodding with a smile, he immediately burst out laughing. Ha ha ha. Who said that after waiting for myself, my 7 Treasures Glass Sect will decline? With the presence of a mourning child, my 7 Treasures Glass Sect will prosper for 1,000 years. Gu Rong laughed uncontrollably, and the sound waves shook the entire 7 Treasures Glass Sect. I never thought at all why Ning Chen would awaken the unique martial soul of the 7 Treasures Glass Sect. It seemed to him that, with Ning Chen's talent, it was the most strange thing without the 9 Treasures Glass Pagoda. A tear even flashed in his eyes, and he solemnly said, Chinner, remember that the 9 Treasures Glass Pagoda is the highest level mutated martial soul among the 7 Treasures Glass clan's inherited martial souls, and it is also the true first auxiliary martial soul in the mainland. In the future, you must use your right sword to protect your left tower. Did you remember? Gu Rong looked solemnly at Ning Chen in the arms of Sword Douluo. I remember. Ning Chen nodded. But he blinked again. Why does this sentence sound so familiar to me? Oh. That Haotian Douluo once said the same thing to Tang San. No wonder he feels like he's in 2nd grade. however. Is it true that all the Douluo account holders like to speak about such secondary illnesses? So it's okay if this title Douluo is not appropriate. Old slut, what about style? How could a father like him not be here on such a joyful day? Gu Rong asked curiously. Although he is not his biological son, with Ning Fengzhi's love for Ning Chen, such a big event should be attended, not to mention the grand banquet. How could it be later than him? Your Highness the Crown Prince has come to discuss something important with Fengzhi. Qianrenxue glanced at Gu Rong and said unhappily. Gu Rong nodded and said, as a teacher in Qianrenxue's swordsmanship, have you figured out how to configure soul rings for Qianrenxue sword martial soul? Of course I have thought about it, but Qianrenxue has his own ideas. Let's listen to what he has to say. Say it. Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo, the eyes of the two current powerhouses standing on the top food chain of the mainland, all turned to Ning Chen. In his eyes, he was full of encouragement from his elders towards his juniors. After thinking for a moment, Ning Chen spoke up and said. Grandpa Sword and Grandpa Bone, I have already figured out how to cultivate, but this is just my initial idea. If what I said is wrong, please correct it. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Ningchen's identity, shocked Qianrenxue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Ningchen's identity, shocked Qianrenxue. In the reception hall. Seeing Ning Fengzhi hurriedly arrive, Xue Qinghe put down his tea bowl, stood up, and bowed to apologize. Qinghe visited rashly. Please forgive me, teacher. Ning Fengzhi nodded and helped Xue Qinghe up, then asked, Your Highness, you came today, but do you have something important to discuss? However, in recent days, teachers have not come to visit students frequently. Students miss their teachers and come to visit them. Xue Qinghe smiled slightly, his words and actions were very appropriate. Qinghe, there's no need for us masters and disciples to be so open-minded. If there's anything we need to do, it doesn't matter. As teachers, we will definitely do our best to help. Ning Feng gave a faint smile. I am very satisfied with Xue Qinghe as a disciple, both in his words, actions, and the scheming of the city government. He doesn't know. In his eyes, this crown prince, who will inherit the throne of the Tianzong Empire after the Snow Knight Emperor, is not the eldest son of the Snow Knight Emperor, Suiking. But it's the undercover agent sent by the Martial Soul Hall, Qianrenxue disguised as a man. Teacher, in fact, this visit to our palace was not a big deal. It's just that some people have heard that within the territory of the Seven Treasures and Glass Sect, there has been a great deal of soul power recently, and there is a great momentum of sword rolling and wind clouds. Students think that it should be due to the improvement in swordsmanship under the sword Douluo crown. That's why students come here to congratulate. As soon as the words of Xueqing River fell, the sleeves and robes moved slightly. I saw several guards carrying boxes of gifts directly and placing them in front of Ning Fengzhi. However, some gold, silver, and jade artifacts are just expressions of goodwill. I hope the teacher doesn't mind. Xue Qinghe smiled slightly. In external terms, if we say, who has the highest combat power among the top 3 sections? It's not easy to say. But if asked, which side of the world is the most prosperous? Undoubtedly, the Seven Treasures Glass Sect ranks second, and no one dares to rank first. In other words, the Seven Treasures Glass Sect is so poor that they only have money left. As a student of Ning Fengzhi, Xue Qinghe has a reputation as a wealthy enemy country in the Seven Treasures Glass Sect. How could he not know? However, any item that can be useful for the 96-level peak Douluo sword is a rare treasure in the world. Even if he is the future emperor of the Heavenly Dou Empire, he may not be able to be found. So, in his words, these items are just a token of goodwill. Ning Fengzhi laughed heartily in front of his student, saying, Qinghe, you misunderstood. Teacher, what does this mean? Is it not sword Douluo, but Bone Douluo who has broken through the years of shackles of level 95 and reached level 96. Xue Qinghe was somewhat surprised. As is well known, the talent of Sword Douluo far exceeds that of Bone Douluo. Nowadays, Gu Douluo's cultivation has also improved, which is not a good thing for the martial soul hall. You should know. Title Douluo, for each level of improvement, the required soul power is far beyond the soul power required for a soul master to reach the Douluo. For each level of improvement, the required soul power will increase exponentially. Especially after level 95, it is even more difficult to improve by one level. Although there are the most elders in the world who have reached level 95 or above of the peak Douluo in the temple of worship. But no one wants the hostile forces to suddenly have an additional high-end combat force that reaches level 95 or above. No, after going back, make sure to tell Grandpa the news that Gu Rong has reached level 96. Qianrenxue thought to herself. But she found that Ning Fengzhi shook her head with a smile and said, "It's not Uncle Gu either." Qianrenxue breathed a sigh of relief, but was somewhat curious. "Teacher, don't let the students continue to guess. Students are stupid and can't really guess who they are." Ning Fengzhi seemed to be showing off to his students with a slight smile and said, "Qinghe, do you still remember the person who once moved the imperial capital and made the 7 Treasures Glass Sect reach this height in one fell swoop?" Xue Qinghe nodded. Of course he remembers this person. However, no matter how he asked, Ning Fengzhi did not inform him in order to protect the other party, but only told him. Now that he is still young, he will naturally introduce you to the other party in the future. For so many years, whether it is the forces in the Heavenly Do Imperial City, the Martial Soul Hall, or the Star Luo Empire, they have been searching for the identity of that person. However, after so many years, all the people of the 7 Treasures Glass Sect have remained silent about it. It can be seen that this person's status in the hearts of the disciples of the 7 Treasures Glass Sect has reached what level. However, judging from Ning Fengzhi's current appearance, it is necessary to inform the other party of their identity. Xue Qinghe listened attentively, afraid of missing any news or clues related to that person. "Qinghe, don't blame the teacher either. As the teacher said back then, that child is still young and not suitable to participate in these political affairs. But now that he has awakened his martial soul, with his talent and personality, he will definitely become the pillar of the 7 Treasures Glass Sect in the future. It doesn't matter if I tell you now." Upon hearing Ning Fengzhi's words, Xue Qinghe's heart was filled with towering waves. Full of shock. Child. Or is it a young child who has just awakened his martial soul this year? How could this be possible? You should know, whether it's medical alcohol, matches, soap, or the wine known as Drunk Immortal. It's all 5 years ago. At that time, how old was he? Less than 1 year old. How could this be possible? If it weren't for his familiarity with his teacher and knowing the right direction, he wouldn't be aimless. Otherwise, even if we kill him, we won't believe it. Teacher, what you said is true. For a moment, Xue Qinghe stuttered. Don't say he doesn't believe it, even the Snow Knight Emperor wouldn't believe that a child under 1 year old could create something with such huge profits. Ning Feng smiled but remained silent. He still remembers that when Qianrenxue told him all these things, his expression was exactly the same as that of Xue Qinghe. What a talented person from all over the world. Xue Qinghe couldn't help but sigh, making Ning Fengzhi even more proud, as if praising himself. Now that this son has awakened his martial soul, I believe his martial soul and innate soul power are also shocking to the world, right? Xue Qinghe asked. Ning Fengzhi nodded and said, "I don't deserve such praise from the crown prince, but this matter is related to Qianrenxue's privacy. Qinghe, you should personally inquire with Qianrenxue. Teacher, should we also be so mysterious between master and disciple?" Xue Qinghe smiled faintly, but his heart had already begun to speculate about the opponent's soul power level and martial soul. Who is Ning Fengzhi? Old fox. Being so cautious and mysterious by him, the awakened martial soul of the opponent must have a high innate soul power level. Even in his opinion, perhaps it can already be called a shock to the world. Ning Fengzhi still smiled without saying a word, the meaning was very obvious. Even if we were masters and disciples, without Qianrenxue's consent, he would not say another word. Xue Qinghe nodded slightly. Be more certain about your thoughts in your heart. Since that's the case, it's not good for the students to ask more questions and make the teacher difficult. However, could the teacher recommend this genius to the students? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. No Threat, Thousand Renxue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors.